Welcome back, all you gun-toting cats and kittens all across the land. Maybe those who are not gun-toting but still like to listen anyway. Hey, and welcome to everyone listening in occupied territory, everyone who's listening overseas in slave states like Australia and Great Britain, merry old England. Hello. Cheerio to all you disarmed slaves in merry old England. I don't know what to say, but sorry for your luck.
Yeah, speaking of merry old England, we had a couple questions. I posted up a little thing when we were recording yesterday, I think it was.
I saw that you did that.
And we have questions if you want to answer those today, if we have time.
Yeah, actually, there was a question, and I'll address this one first. It's like, how do you know that you're living in a slave state? There's several criteria, actually. Do you need a permission slip from the government to purchase a firearm and or ammunition? Yes, you do. Then you live in a slave state. If you think... EJ just sent me something totally bizarre, and I'm going to go ahead and have to close it because it's messing with my brain.
Oh, that video?
Yeah. I was going to read the questions on the Facebook thing, and then that came up,
and
it was messing with my mind.
Yeah, I saw that last night.
Thanks, EJ. But no, how do I know I live in a slave state? Number one, does your state have a FOID card or something very similar? Then you live in a slave state. Does your state have discretionary issue concealed carry permits, which means that only the friends of the king are allowed? Then you live in a slave state. Let me see. Confiscatory taxes. And you say, well, how do I know if the taxes are confiscatory? Well, if you go to buy a pack of cigarettes, and I know some of you smoke, and that's okay because this is America. Well, it's America unless you live in New York City. If what's a pack of cigarettes going for in New York City, Jared? You said like
it's $14.
It's like $14 a pack. Yeah. Look at your. I want you to pull out your pay stub, if you have a pay stub, if you get a pay stub, and look at it. Look at your FICA and federal tax, and look at your state tax, and look at your city. If you have a state tax and a city tax and a county tax, you live in a slave state. Sorry. Let me see. Other things like, are you allowed by your state to own silencers or suppressors? If your state disallows you from owning those, you live in a slave state. And that's pretty much it. Well, I mean, if your state's run by liberal Democrats, then you live in a slave state. What's up, Jared?
I was just looking at the...
Are you reading questions?
Well, I was looking at the post on the Facebook, and there are no comments on this, and I know there were a ton yesterday.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, of EJ's insanity there?
Of the questions.
Oh, well, that's weird because I know there's questions there too, and I read a bunch of them.
Yeah, I did too. Maybe it's...
What?
Maybe it's my computer. There we go.
There we go. Okay. I was going to say, I don't think Zuckerberg cares that much about us to scrub our comments. We're waiting for that day that they notice us and are like, oh, we don't like these guys. We're gonna scrub their. How many Facebooks does Willis have? He's got like 7 because they keep shutting him down. Like, oh, someone said a bad word on your Facebook page. We're gonna shut you down for a week. So anyway.
Oh yeah, John. That one came from Johnny Red. It says, for us foreigners, can you define what it means to be a slave state, and if the NFA/GCAs have any impact on this definition? Thanks.
Yep. Essentially, the less permission you require from the government for anything in your life, the freer you are. That's kind of the definition of freedom and liberty, is that you don't have to ask for permission. What? And sadly, a lot of people in the United States of America have been conditioned to believe that everything they do requires permission. It makes me sad. It makes me annoyed. It fills me with various emotions when I hear people say things like, "Are you allowed to have that? Is that legal?" I'm not talking about heroin possession. I'm talking about rubber parts that you attach to a gun. Are you allowed to have that? Why would you think that you're not? When a few years ago, when Century Arms, back my buddy Steve Kahaya, he went over to one of the former Soviet republics, and he found these. I don't know if they were Yugoslavian. They might have been Yugo. I can't remember. It doesn't really matter. But they're essentially smoke and flare launchers. But they were designed in a similar vein or similar fashion to the M79. And if you guys who are hip cats know that the M79 grenade launcher was the preferred grenade launching device in the Vietnam era. So anyway, he finds these, I think it's 26.5 millimeter smoke and flare launchers. And they're not guns. They're non-firearms, right? So they imported them. Century did, and I got my hot little hands on one of them. Let me tell you what, it's a beautiful piece of machinery. It's made of steel and hardwood. You can tell that there was meticulous craftsmanship that went into it. And so I'm out on the range, and I'm shooting smoke and so forth, and just kind of having a good time. And someone's like, "Well, what is that?" And I tell them, and they say, they kind of get quiet. They're like, "Are you allowed to have that?" What the hell do you mean? Am I allowed to have that? Why do you think, why is your default that I need to get permission from the government? What kind of a slave are you? And let me tell you what, folks, if I ever hear that come out of your mouth, you're a freaking slave and you need to flush out your head. You're supposed to be the boss, not the servant, not the peasant, not the slave. The people of the United States of America are supposed to be the bosses. And they're not supposed to have to cower and worry that they're going to get caught doing something they shouldn't be doing. And no, I'm not talking about violating the law, the real laws, as in malum inse. Do I need to do the malum inse, malum prohibitum? If you don't know what that is, read it.
Yeah, I was going to say, you've talked about it plenty of times.
Well, you know what?
And you've written about it.
You know what's funny, Jared? You say that, and I say that. And we've written articles, we've talked about it on the radio.
We do have a bunch of new listeners, but I think
and we have people like, they ask questions like, hey, what about X? And I think, did I not talk about that 4 times? But that is true. We have a lot of new listeners. We have people that just found us last week or what have you. Or maybe, and this is one, I don't know what to tell you. Somebody asked about finding old episodes. I said, well, I went to iTunes and I can't get, it only goes back so far and I want to go back to the previous ones. How can I do that? And Jared, the answer for the iTunes is you can't. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, the answer for the iTunes part is you can't. Now, the good news is I'm going to hip you to something. This is a secret. We've kind of been keeping this close to the vest. There's a website called Student of the Gun Radio. You put all those words together. Student of the Gun Radio. And you go there, and there's audio links to every. Am I correct? Am I lying or am I dying?
No, I think that's true.
We
just want to keep that a secret.
All the way back to number 1.
Yeah.
I know you're like, what? What is this studentofthegunradio.com that I'm hearing about for the first time ever in my entire life? Yep, that's the secret. The secret is this. For iTunes and Stitcher, and I don't know if it's Stitcher, but I know for sure the podcast gallery and so forth. Most of them have the same formula. They will only hold the last 50, and then they, basically trash them after that. But if you go to Student of the Gun Radio, you can go all the way back, I believe, to episode 1, which is a lot of files. It is a lot of files because we're on, according to my show notes, this is episode 160. All right, well, before we get into, folks, we got some stories to tell you. It's crazy. We want to thank our friends at Velocity Triggers, designed for precision. Go to velocitytriggers.com. If you've got a black rifle, they have a trigger for you, so check those guys out. And Brownells, if you own a gun, Brownells has something in their catalog for you. I don't care if it's a shotgun, a pistol, a rifle, a black powder muzzleloader. I don't care. If you have a crossbow, I think they have crossbow accessories there. Speaking of which, did you see that crossbow story out of Spain?
No, I didn't.
A kid went to a school and committed a rampage. It said like a murder rampage with a crossbow. And my first thought was, man, that kid was fast. A rampage with a crossbow. If I was going to go on a rampage, I don't think a crossbow would be the first thing I chose, but whatever. So check out Brownells.com. They've been serious about guns since 1939. At least that's what I've been told. Is that correct, Jared?
What?
that they've been serious about guns since 1939. They have.
Serious about
and they
firearms
still
since
are serious
1939.
about firearms and all kinds of other stuff, too. Sign up for their mailing list. Get it. And, folks, what Brownells does, a lot of times when they get a shipment of ammo or a shipment of whatever's in, the first people that find out about it is on their mailing list. And you know how things are today. Let's say they get a case of 50,000 rounds of .22, and you say, well, that's a lot of ammo. I don't have to jump on that. Yeah, you do, because there's 50,000 people that are watching those emails, and they're going to snatch it up. So sign up for their email. It's free. It costs you nothing. All right, folks, what have we told you about the big media? Well, because you're smart students of the gun, but we like to reinforce it because every once in a while you might doubt us, which you should never, ever, ever do, because that would just be wrong. But we've got a story here that just broke, and the dateline for it, I believe, is I'm pulling the story up right now on my super magic computer. It's only about 1 day old. Okay, here we go. Dateline, Tuesday, April 21st, 2005. The source is NewYorkDailyNews.com. Now listen to this headline. GOP Congressman Ken Buck, Trey Gowdy, snap photo holding AR-15 rifle at House office building. D.C. police to investigate. And then there's a photo of Trey Gowdy and Ken Buck. And they have their hands on a red, white, and blue American flag designed. So, and I don't know what manufacturer it is. It doesn't really matter. But it's an AR-15 style rifle. And the story continues. 2 Republican lawmakers say nuts to Washington's laws by brandishing an assault rifle. But they're within their rights because they're congressmen, authorities said. We don't know if that's true, but that's what the authorities said. Representative Ken Buck, Republican, Colorado, a Tea Party candidate, tweeted a picture last week of him and Republican Representative Trey Gowdy, Republican, South Carolina, in his office, holding an AR-15 semi-automatic rifle decorated with an American flag. Well, that right there is enough to set the left off right there.
Yeah, the flag.
It's not so much the rifle. It's the fact that they had the chutzpah to decorate it in red, white, and blue.
Did you know that the American flag is a sign of white supremacy and racism?
I was not aware of that.
Yep. I saw a video this morning of one of the protesters that was walking on the flag, and that was his reason for doing that.
Oh, okay. Then why is he here?
Yeah.
Get on a plane.
And I'll have to
go somewhere else.
I'm going to research that video and make sure it's from this instance, the one that we just talked about.
Yeah.
But
we didn't talk about that on the radio.
We didn't talk about
No,
that?
we just put it up on our social media and it went crazy.
Oh, are we going to talk about it on the radio?
I think I might talk about it tomorrow so I can use my entire vocabulary.
Oh, okay.
How's that sound?
Sounds good.
Okay, so continuing this story and the fact that the American flag is what's really got the left hacked off. My friend Trey Gowdy stopped in by the office. Excuse me, I'll start that over again. My friend Trey Gowdy stopped by the office. I had to show him my AR-15, Buck tweeted. Both lawmakers worked as prosecutors prior to their election to Congress. Gowdy is the chairman of the Special House Committee investigating the attack on the U.S. consulate in Benghazi, which is why he's a target for the left here. And here we go. Robert Maras, a spokesman for the D.C. Attorney General, said that after receiving complaints about the gun-waving lawmakers. Now stop right there, you lying pieces of human filth. They were inside their office, right? So, but according to this puke-faced scumbag, he says, after receiving complaints about gun-waving lawmakers, the office, quote, referred them and all relevant information to the Metropolitan Police Department for investigation. Now, here's this next paragraph. Well, it's a paragraph / sentence. This tells you exactly the mindset of the New York Daily News and the reporter in question here and the editors in question. Critics quickly noted the gun, similar to the Bushmaster AR-15 Adam Lanza used to in the massacre at Sandy Hook Elementary in Newtown, Connecticut.
They're still using the death of those children to push their agenda.
Is banned in D.C., which prohibits semi-automatic assault weapons. If it's semi-automatic, does that not take it out of the assault weapon category? Not in the mind of a hippie liberal puke-faced scumbag. And then it goes on, it says, but Buck and Gowdy didn't break the law because Congress has exempted itself from local gun restrictions, according to Capitol Police. Under federal law, members of blah, 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 blah. Here's the deal, folks. All right, so you've heard the story. And here's what happened. This is the real story. This is what Paul Markle is going to tell you the real story is. This Robert Maris, a spokesman, after receiving several complaints about gun-waving lawmakers. No. Here's what happened. Is some snot-faced hippie liberal puke bag saw this on Twitter and got their panties all twisted up and said something. Or maybe that's not even it. Maybe Robert Maris himself. Is Robert Maris a registered Democrat? We have a problem with registered Democrat prosecutors in the United States of America, do we not? Yes, we do. So they referred them to the da-da-da-da-da-da. All right, so right now, this story is basically, here's what the New York Daily News knows. They know that somewhere between 80 and 90% of all news consumers will see the photo, they will read the title. They're going to read this long SEO title. They're going to see GOP Congressman, AR-15, D.C. Police investigate. And they're going to take that and they're going to move on with their lives and assume that they're in the wrong. And then they might read a little, maybe 5% more will read in the first couple of paragraphs. And they'll say, oh, well, look at these guys. They're using their authority to circumvent the law. You mean the 100% absolutely unconstitutional restrictions that have been placed upon the residents of D.C. by the ruling class who thinks that they know better? Yeah, those. So they'll get down, they'll read, Republican lawmakers said nuts to Washington laws by brandishing an assault weapon. Oh, they're evil. Oh, I should be scared. Oh, call Shannon. Tell her to put down the knife in the mayo and come hug me. So they'll read that. They might even, and of course, you guys know what the top fold and bottom fold is. They might get down to about the second or third paragraph. Then they'll get down to the Adam Lanza and the Bushmaster AR-15 comment. They're like, oh, this is horrible. Here's what they know. The people at the New York Daily News know that 99% of all the people who see this story will never get all the way down to the bottom of the story to read the last paragraph. And the very last paragraph, this is how they get away with writing propaganda and passing it off as news. So the very last paragraph of this story says, after consulting with the Capitol Police, D.C. Metro Police decided to take no action. So we have this entire story with photos, bold headlines, all this jazz for nothing. No crimes were committed. No laws were broken. No investigation is forthcoming. Well, they looked and they're like, well, we're not going to do it. So essentially, you got to ask yourself, well, all right, space costs money, right? Jared, are websites free? They just come from the outer space and they cost nothing?
Nope, they cost money.
And does it cost people to
build them? It's pretty
to build them, to maintain them, to host them.
You have to do a bunch of different stuff.
Do you suppose Dan Friedman got paid on Tuesday? The author of this story?
Definitely.
Dan Friedman got paid. His editors got paid. Everybody got paid. So why would you waste your time, money, and effort to generate a non-story? Well, because the non-story, the lie, the propaganda, you can use that to paint, well, people who are conservative Republicans and who are being a thorn in the side of, let's say, Hillary. Gowdy is the one who's trying to get to the bottom, get the truth of the Benghazi massacre, which, in case you forgot, went down under the... Can I sidetrack into the Benghazi thing real quick? Here's what I'm going to tell you guys. Here's your... I'm going to give you a real quick talking points. And you're like, oh, Paul Markel's giving talking points. Oh, that's bad. No. At some point in your life, in the next year or so, since they're going to, the left wing, the Communist Party, is going to try and foist Hillary on us. And the Benghazi is going to come up. And so what you're going to say to them is, they say, whoa, no, why should I care? Here's why you should care. I don't care what led up to it. I don't care if it was terrorism. I don't care if it was a video. I don't care if, somebody was, menstruating that day, if they ran out of goats to rape. I don't care. This is the question that you need to ask your reasonable friends. How did the United States of America get to the point where we cannot and refuse to protect our own ambassadors overseas? And that's it. How did we get to that point? How do we get to the point where we are so weak as a nation that we can't even... And let's go back to the original lie. Let's just go back to the original lie that, they were incensed by a YouTube video. Yeah, because we know that they're really, the goat rapists are down with the YouTube, right? So they were incensed by a YouTube video, which is a 100% complete and total lie. But let's just take it at its face. So we've got a spontaneous protest over a YouTube video, and 4 Americans can be massacred from that. So we're so weak as a nation, and we refuse to protect our ambassadors. We will not provide them with adequate security to the point where a mob can just pull them out of the consulate and murder them. Really? That's the nation you want to live in? And those are the people that you want to hold the highest offices in the land. The people that can't even protect our ambassadors. That is the question right there. So when Benghazi comes up and they're like, derpa, video, derpa. No. See, how is it that you want someone who couldn't even provide security for... Isn't that a pretty basic function? Is to secure the ambassadors? I don't know. Maybe I'm a crazy person. Maybe I just expect way too much. So, all right. That propaganda aside, we're going to move on to our next story. Oh, we haven't heard from our friend old Chief Acevedo. Chief Acevedo, he's just somebody, he needs to get like a press agent or something because he steps in it, and he stepped in it again. We know, you guys know Chief Acevedo from Austin, Texas. Chief Acevedo is an anti-gun puppet there who thinks that if you know a gun enthusiast, you need to say something. You need to tell someone. You need to call the police and turn that gun enthusiast in. Because gun enthusiasts are dangerous, according to Chief Acevedo. Well, Chief Acevedo does not think that you peasants, you plebes, you subjects of the crown, he's not really down with you owning guns and carrying guns. And if you ask him, he's like, I have no problem with people owning guns as long as they're locked in a safe in their house. Then it's okay. But I don't want them to have them on their bodies because that's scary. Well, what do we tell you about Texas? Texas and Florida both push forward. They're pushing for the campus carry amendment to allow lawfully armed people to be lawfully armed on college campuses as well as everywhere else. Well, Chief Acevedo, he's not down with that. And they asked him, they're like, hey, Chief, how about allowing female college students who are of age to have the means and the ability to defend themselves against rapists? And listen to what Chief Acevedo has to say here. He said, we potentially are turning sexual assault victims that we have a lot of resources to help these young people, turn them into survivors through our victim services and so forth, into potential murder victims. Now, what now? What now? So Acevedo believes that, if you're raped, if you're a victim of sexual assault, that we have a lot of services. We have a lot of, counseling services, victim services, and so forth to take care of you. And the Senator Brian Birdwell, the author of the Campus Carry Bill, questioned him on that. He says, correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounded as if you said that you'd rather have a woman go through a rape and survive through survival counseling than murder recovery. And he goes, "Oh, I don't want a woman to end up not just a sexual assault victim, but ends up being murdered with her own firearm because," listen to this, "all you have to do is close your mouth, open your ears, and listen to what the elitists say, and that is a gateway into their sick and twisted minds." Murdered with her own firearm because they haven't been put through training and retention, the weapons retention. So essentially what the chief says here is you can't allow the peasants and the peasant women to have guns to stop rapists because they're not as well trained as his officers. Really? So don't even try. Don't even try. Wow. I don't even know what to say to that. But apparently Acevedo, he just likes stepping in it. So here's what we know about Chief Acevedo in Austin, is that he would rather your daughter be raped and go through counseling, to make her feel better afterwards, than to carry a gun and potentially have that gun turned on her. That's just not worth the risk. It's dangerous for criminals. It's dangerous for criminals when victims have guns. So, and the chief's not down with that. Oh, we got some good news, and we got some a good news update from some of our friends in the north. But before we talk about that, we want to take a moment to acknowledge our friends at Crossbreed Holsters, and check them out at crossbreedholsters.com. I actually just got an email from them this morning. They're constantly releasing new products, because everybody's got their favorite what's-its, right? Everyone's got their favorite Who's a Fudger blaster. And they're like, "Oh, hey, how come you don't make a holster for my blaster?" Well, here's the deal. If only you and like one other person in America are carrying that gun, they're probably not going to make a holster for it. But they do try to be accommodating.
If they don't have a holster for the gun that you have and you want one, contact them and let them know, because if everybody that wants that holster lets them know,
well, yeah, I mean, if
maybe they'll get enough.
If
to
you
be like,
really
okay,
believe
it's worth it.
A great example, the TP9 SA, right? TP9 SA is a new gun, relatively new gun, new design, new frame design, and lots of people contacted them, including yours truly and Jared's truly, and so they make them now. So go to crossbreedholsters.com and flirt around on their site and see if they have a holster for you. Speaking of which,
I would say you could get the TP9 SA and a Crossbreed holster for about the price you'd pay for a brand new Glock. So,
ooh, did you go there?
Yep, I did. I went there.
Jared went there. So what Jared basically said is that you get a full-size gun that is tough as nails and put it in a high-quality holster and get a belt with it. Mm-hmm. For the price of a brand new Gen 4 Glock.
Yep.
Oops. All right, and that leads us into our buddies at Century Arms. So you want to go to centuryarms.com and check those guys out, because they actually redid their website. So poke around, see what they got.
Here's the deal. If you're on your mobile device, go to your Student of the Gun app, and on there's a little tab, and you can click the Century Arms tab, and it'll take you directly to their mobile site.
That's right.
They got a bunch of cool videos on there.
Well, they are the official sponsors of the Student of the Gun mobile application. And if you don't have the mobile application on your phone or your iPad or your Android, all right, Android devices, check. iDevices, iPhones, iPads, check. Just download it. It doesn't cost you anything, thanks to our friends at Century Arms. And that way you can keep up with everything Student of the Gun related. All right, Michigan update. WXYZ.com. And one of our friends in Michigan sent us this via the, I don't know where we got it. We might have got it Facebook. We got it on my email. I don't know. Doesn't matter because it happened. Milford Council approves War Memorial after vets show up in force. Yay, go team. It says, Milford, Michigan, the crowds that packed into Milford's Village Hall Monday night far outnumbered council members. More than half of them were veterans who want to see the Veterans Memorial at Milford Central Park completed with a statue of a battle cross, which features combat boots, an M16 rifle, and a helmet. Frank Kidd, who lost his son Mark in Iraq 8 years ago, says it's a symbol universally understood as one that honors fallen heroes. They used a gun, a pair of boots, and a helmet, just like the memorial that we're trying to set up, Kid said about his son's memorial. Hey, rock on. And we talked about that, it was last week. Was it not, Jared? It might have been Thursday. I don't remember what day we talked about it, quite frankly.
Was it Monday?
No,
I don't know.
I don't know. But we talked about it. We talked about the liberal puke-faced scumbag on the council who's like, I don't know, the image of a gun might offend someone. And Jared suggested that he should find his life partner and retrieve his testicles from his life partner's purse.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
So thank you very much to all of our friends up in Michigan who let us know about this. And go team to all the veterans who packed that council hall and let those guys know exactly what they thought about their hippie liberal puke-faced nonsense. So good job. And I wanted to make sure that you guys were aware of that. Now, Jared, we've got some time. What I want you to do now is I want you to go ahead and go into the mailbag there and go ahead and pick out some questions for us. And this final segment of today's episode of Student of the Gun Radio. Man, we're 31 minutes in already.
Wow.
Holy cow. I must be drinking like coffee. I got big coffee right next to me. This final episode is brought to you by our friends at SWAT Fuel, SWATfuel.com. If you haven't checked them out lately, you need to do that because, you know what, Jared? You know what it seems like when people sponsor us, that they take your advice and they get someone to upgrade their website?
Yeah, no. That's funny.
Because SWAT Fuel just updated their web store. And they recreated their web store or redid it or what have you. So if you haven't been there lately, make sure you check them out. You need to check them out. I actually talked to a guy on the phone yesterday, and he sent me to his site. And my first thought was he needs to have a phone conversation with Jared because Jared could help him out.
No, his tech guy needs to have a phone conversation with me.
Yeah, that is true.
It gets to the point where I'm talking to these dudes that own the businesses, and they're like, what? You're exploding my brain. And I'm like,
talking to him about search engine optimization.
Dude.
Yeah. And when you say Joomla or WordPress or whatever, and you say, what version of WordPress are you using? And they go,
what's WordPress? Oh, everybody knows what WordPress is now.
Really? Everyone knows?
Well, pretty much.
I don't know. But
pretty much everybody, but there's not very many people that know what Joomla is.
Yeah.
That's only for the designers.
It's a techie thing. It's a designer thing. All right. Go ahead and start throwing me some. You know what we haven't done? We haven't done any music. We haven't done any cool music this episode. I don't know why. We could have done. Let me see.
We could have done the Great White North.
We could have done. Well, that Great White North. We like to reserve that for Canada. You know, we could have done Slave State for D.C. We I mentioned Killary earlier, and we've got a WASP song that I think we're going to start using every time because it's going to happen. We're going to have to talk about the Wicked Witch of the Chappaqua or whatever. So the Wicked Witch of Arkansas. We're going to have to talk about the Wicked Witch of Arkansas here just because it's going to be pertinent in the news, and I think we've got a WASP song for. Do you have that WASP song?
Yeah, I have it.
Is it there in front of you?
Kind of.
Oh, okay.
I can make it in front of me.
You could put it up in front of you, and we might want to tease him. Yeah, all right. I got a confession to make. I was on the treadmill in the gym the other day, and I was listening to my Pandora and Pandora doesn't sponsor us, obviously, but I actually really like the Pandora. I'm digging the Pandora. A few years ago, I tried that other one, Rhapsody, and that was crap. I don't think are they even still in business?
I don't know.
If they are, they shouldn't be because it was crap. Their selection was crap. Their system was crap. They wanted you to pay so much a month to have access to these songs. And I switched to Pandora because my daughter, my teenage daughter, told me to do it. So I was like, okay, I'll do that. But yeah, I'm really digging the whole Pandora. And I have, because I'm an old guy, I have a WASP station. And it was playing, and the song came up, and I put the treadmill on one, jumped off, and I ran back to Jared's office, and I annoyed him because I told him that was the song that we were going to be playing, and he was busy doing emails or something, and he gave me that look. Didn't you? Didn't you give
maybe,
me?
Yeah.
Yeah, you did. You gave me the look. So do you have the song?
Yeah, I got it.
All right, go ahead and
I don't know where the.
This is going to be our
start it.
This is going to be our Killary update, I think. Tell me if you like it.
Stole brand new car. I say AC, she says DC. The damn bitch is just too bizarre. Ball Crusher.
What do you guys think? You think that Ball Crusher would be a good Killary update theme? I think it would be.
No. It can't be.
Ball Crusher. Yeah, like not a fan.
She
not a
stays
fan
as
of balls.
far away from balls as she can get.
Well, she's not a fan of balls, but she'll crush your balls.
Oh, okay.
If you get in her way, hashtag Vince Foster. Go ahead and look it up, kids. You don't even know what that means, do you, Jared?
I don't
that makes
have
me
any
sad.
idea.
Jared has no idea who Vince Foster is and why Vince Foster is dead. Vince Foster is one of dozens, if not hundreds, of dead people who are former associates of the Clintons. Friends and associates of the Clintons have been dying mysteriously for the last 2 to 3 decades, but we don't want to talk about that. It's just a coincidence. How many people in your life? I'll ask you this: when the whole Killary thing comes up, because don't expect CNN to push this. Bill and Killary, they have, I think the number last count was something like 28, between 26 and 28 associates that had killed themselves or had died mysteriously. How many people in your life have killed themselves and or died mysteriously? I would say if it's 1 or 2, it's probably a lot. If you get to the point where there's 10 people that you were friends with that died mysteriously, there's a common denominator there, and people aren't going to want to be friends with you anymore. When you get to the dozens of people thing, that's not. Oh, we want to get moving?
Yeah, we're going to do some questions.
But I was talking.
Okay. Well, you can keep talking.
I know I can. You know why? Guess what? This is my show.
Oh.
I can say what I want. But, yeah, I digress. We do need to talk about that in the future because you know what I realized recently is people that are 30 or under don't have any concept of like all the lies, deception, murder, suicide, death, abuse of power that went on in the 90s. Do you?
No, just because.
No, because you were in like elementary school.
Yeah.
So people under 30, the millennials that are going to be voting, they have no concept because they're not reminded because it's inconvenient as hell for the people who are, in power.
Yeah.
Ugh. All right, give me a question, Crazy.
I guess we'll put that as a show note for next week. I'll start at the top here, and these questions were posted on Student the Gun's Facebook. And the first one is from Chris Williams. It says, does customizing a gun make it more valuable? Also, why do people think a used gun costs the same as a new gun?
Okay, yes and no. Here's what I found out a long, long time ago. What you think is neat and unique and cool is not necessarily what anybody else thinks is new, unique, and cool. You say, well, people do this all the time. I had a friend of mine who ran a gun shop up in Ohio, and he said, I get this all the time. People come in, and they've modified their guns. They put different thises on them, different that's on them. They painted them. They did whatever. And they want to tell me how much money that they put into that gun because it's super cool, and they love it. And they want to sell it to me, and they want me to pay that price for it. And I have to look at them and say, look, I know that you really are into the whatever, but what I have to do as a retailer is I have to find someone who thinks just like you, who thinks that accessory is cool and that color is cool and what have you. And those people don't always exist. So, when you modify your gun, you're modifying it for you. And you're if you want to sell that gun, then you're having to bet that someone else is thinking just like you, whether it's the sights, whether it's the grips, whether it's the paint job, whether it's the whatever. So customizing your gun makes it cool for you, not necessarily cool for anybody else.
Okay, next one.
Yeah,
That
go on.
There was a hard pause there.
Hard pause.
Ryan Hepfer says, why is the sky blue? And actually, somebody answered that for him.
Somebody answered it for him. I'm not a scientist, and I didn't stay at a Holiday Inn last night, so moving on.
Colin Franks says, single point or 2-point sling on your AR?
Yes.
And why?
Yes.
Why for each one?
Well.
You want to put both on the same AR?
No, you one or the other.
Why do you prefer single point?
I don't prefer one over the other.
What's the benefit of the single point over, or is there a benefit to either one?
Yeah, there's benefits to both of them. And you know what we did? We did a thing called Black Rifle Boot Camp where we discussed that very thing.
Oh,
on
we did.
television.
And
yeah,
that
we
will
did.
be- when-
we
when
did a
this-
whole detailed entire
That-
segment about slings.
That gives me an opportunity to say that when the website is redesigned, we're going to have all of these videos that we've done before. We're going to have them all there, segmented and organized like they should be, so you can find all this stuff. Might require a little bit of a membership, but I digress. So Pete Locke says, "That's
All right,
he
let's
says that's
stay
not a
away from
question.
3-point slings.
3 point. What about 4? Holy crap!
No.
Okay, real quick, guys. A question is not 10 paragraphs.
That's right. A question is one sentence with a possible follow-up sentence. That's it. That's a question.
Scott Shipley says, not a question, but a statement. I love your podcasts. He's from Australia.
Woo! Oi, mate.
Hector Rodriguez, where is the duct tape for when stupidity abounds?
Gorilla Tape is the serious. No kidding. It costs a little bit more, but it's worth it.
John Fry, more of a Wednesday question, but Jared, what's your opinion on intermittent fasting for a tactical occupational athlete? I can't really answer that quickly.
Okay,
But-
cool.
Oh, crap. There's like 3. That's a long question, too. I'll put that in the queue for a Wednesday question. Hypothetical. This is actually a good one. Family's asleep, husband, wife, 2 young kids, alarm goes off, and someone is definitely in the house. When deciding whether to try and fight the intruders out or fight to get the family out, what is your criteria? What are your criteria?
Oh, can you guarantee your family's safety on the outside of the building? Yes or no?
Okay, Robert.
No. Well,
Oh,
no.
you're
What I'm
not
saying. No, I'm not done.
Oh, okay.
I'm saying people are like, well, get out of the house. Yeah, but do you know that there aren't any bad people on the outside of the house? Are you going to run into their accomplices that are breaking into your garage? I would not try to escape from my own house. You know your house better than anyone else. The best thing for you to do would be to come up with a plan. Tell your family, okay, if this happens, if the alarm goes off, this is what you're supposed to do. This is what you need to do. Even if it's just, if you tell your little kids, if you hear the alarm go off, get out of your bed, go in the closet, and stay on the floor, and Daddy will come find you. Okay? It's that simple. But I would, the whole, get out of the house and run away, and that's a big question mark
Going
right
into
there.
the unknown.
And not only that, but if you tell your family to try and escape from the house, then what'll happen is they'll get up and they'll be trying to run through the house while the bad people are in the house.
Too many people.
Yeah, too many bodies moving around. If the alarm's off and there's bad people in your house, the less good people moving around, unless it's good people with guns like you and your spouse. But you don't want your kids trying to escape down the hallway or get down the stairs or whatever. Tell them, if it's a burglar alarm, hold in place. Daddy will come get you.
Well, that one was from
Or mommy.
Yeah. That,
I don't want to get letters
From
you,
dudes.
from dudes,
Yeah.
from eunuchs.
That was. Here's the deal. You know what? It is the man's job to be the protector.
It is.
So,
it is
there
natural.
you go. I said it.
It's science.
Yeah, science says that question came from Jared Logic, and Jared's been a follower since he's been a listener
Woohoo!
since
Rock
the
on,
very
Jared.
beginning. And let's see, Robert Supon says boxers or briefs. I don't want to know the answer to that, but I wear nothing. Hunter Trammell says when training tactical shotgun, in your opinion, what are some of the most basic and easiest techniques to learn?
Too difficult for a question to answer on the radio.
Okay, what is? I'm gonna skip that question.
That's physical.
In the case of Wisconsin, if you, Professor Paul, were on the
Skip it.
person's... Okay. How much can a woodchuck chuck?
None.
Okay. Not even if he's Chuck Norris?
Nope. Woodchucks fear me.
What do you think of the rifles they come out with? This is a confusing question. I'm going to skip that one. Matt Williams, do you carry an extra magazine in your back pocket, cargo pocket, or belt holster?
I carry spare ammunition wrapped in a gun.
It has its own launcher.
Yeah, my spare ammunition has its own launching device.
How do you save California from the liberal gun grabbers?
You don't.
Are the good cops too afraid that they're going to be able to, or they're not going to be able to pay the mortgage?
I don't know. I had a long conversation with a very close friend last night who was one of my original mentors in the cop world, going all the way back to the early 90s. And he's he's a career police officer. He's a captain now on his department. And he said, Paul, I really don't know what we're going to do. He said he sees generationally these guys. He said, and I asked him, I said, did they change academy training? Do they not teach these guys constitutional law anymore? What is going on? And he said, what's sad is I think a lot of these guys are coming into it now with these weird preconceived YouTube notions or what have you. And he said, I asked him, I said, how do we, short of like passing new laws, because I know someone says, oh, we need regulations, we need new laws. No, we don't need new laws, we don't need regulations. He said, I don't know, but I see it. He said, I see this mentality, the mentality creeping in of I know who's a bad guy and whatever I have to do. Or I'm a good guy and everybody else who's not me or doesn't look like me or dress like me is a de facto bad guy. And whatever I have to do. We talked about bullcrap traffic stops and fudging paperwork and so forth. And how some of these guys, they have this justification in their mind that, well, I'm the good guy. And so whatever I do when I am encountering the citizens is de facto right because I am the good guy and you are just the peasants. And it's scary. I mean, it really upsets my stomach. I'm so upset, because I don't want to be in a position where, I would rather be fighting goat rapists and hajis and terrorists. I know them. They're the bad guys. I recognize that, and I even respect them. Like, okay, you want to be my enemy? I'm your enemy. Let's do it. Let's go out and let's freaking do it. What scares me and what really disturbs me is that there are United States citizens, your fellow citizens of the United States of America, have set themselves against you, have set themselves to be they're openly hostile. And I'm not talking about every police officer. Don't write me stupid letters about, oh, you're just cop bashing. You're a moron and you don't pay attention. If you think just because someone puts on a blue polyester uniform and gets handed a badge that they are now above the law and cannot be questioned, you're wrong. You're wrong. You don't become above the law because you put on a blue polyester uniform. I wore the uniform for a long, long time. And when you become a police officer, you have to hold yourself to a higher standard. And if you can't be held to a higher standard, and if you're not willing to accept that, then you need to go do something else. Because let me tell you what, and this was burned into my brain 20 plus years ago. And I don't remember who it was, a field training officer, a chief of police, somebody. They said, look, when you put that badge on and the state grants you the authority to make traffic stops, he said, you've been given the authority to stop people, to prevent them from going about their business. He said that is a tremendous amount of authority in the United States of America. You can literally force people to stop where they're going. You can hold them in place. He said, and that's a big deal. That's a lot of responsibility. And you cannot ever take that for granted. You cannot ever get into a position where you feel like, I'm just going to stop you because I want to. He said, if you can't go in front of a jury and a judge and explain to them in clear, concise words why you felt the need to stop that person and hold them in place, don't do it. Don't do it because you think you have a hunch. Or, well, that person doesn't look right. If you don't have a clear reason in your mind, don't do it. He said, because that is a tremendous amount of responsibility. And you've been granted that by the state. The state said, okay, we're going to give you the badge. We're going to let you do this. And that is being held to a higher standard. And if you cannot hold yourself to a higher standard and you think that you're immune from criticism, or no one should criticize you. Oh, you don't know. I do know. Paul Markle does know. So don't write me stupid crap letters about, oh, you're a cop basher. No, I wore the badge, man. I've been there. I can question it. And if you're not an American first, if you don't put being an American first and foremost in your mind, you're wrong. You're 100% wrong. And you're part of the problem. Is that a little more than you wanted, Jared?
No, that was good. I was over here thinking that to be a quote unquote good cop. It takes discipline. It takes responsibility, and that's stuff that is not taught anymore.
It absolutely does. It takes 100% discipline. You know, I was talking to my friend. I'm not going to say his name because he didn't give me permission to talk about him on the radio. But he said, you know, we were talking about when we were coming up and so forth. And I said, you know, I remember someone telling me, look, when you put that uniform on, you go out in public. He said, you're in public view. Someone is watching you all the time. Whether you comb your hair, scratch your nuts, pick your nose, whatever, someone is always watching you, and you need to be cognizant of your behavior 24 hours a day. Or as long as you're in the uniform out in public, you are on display, and you need to behave in such a manner. And if you can't do that, if you can't discipline yourself, if you don't have enough personal pride, then you don't belong there. But what's sad is, it's just like the United States military, where they're pushing out the motivated, intelligent self-starters, and they're encouraging people to just basically be civil servants and, you know, follow orders. They're doing the same thing in the police world. Is the intelligent self-starters are being pushed away, and what they're keeping is and not everyone. Don't write me letters. You can write me whatever you want. I don't care. I don't go through the emails anymore. But, yeah, they're pushing away the hardcore, motivated, intelligent people, and they're keeping the civil servants. They're encouraging people to just be the civil servants, the pensioners. You just do whatever we tell you to do, and we'll give you your pension. You'll get your paycheck and your pension and your benefits. And, well, what do you want them to do? I want them to follow the Constitution. I want them to be faithful to their nation. I want them to be able to look in the mirror. I want you to be able to stand at the foot of God and look him in the face and say, I did the best. I followed my heart. I was honorable. I didn't just do it because I was ordered to. Well, I was told to. That's not an excuse. And if you can't deal with that, get another job. Get another job. And I tell you what, if you're being told to do things that are against your moral code and that you know are wrong, and you continue to do them when you know that it's wrong, you are wrong. There's no getting around it. There's right and there's wrong, and there's no getting around it. You can't say, well, I know what I was doing was wrong, and I know that it kind of technically violated the Constitution of the United States of America, but what am I supposed to do? They told me.
Well, let's not get too far into this because I know you're going to talk about this tomorrow.
I know.
And I don't want to dilute it to the grad program members.
All right.
But
so
we got one more question I want to answer because it's a legitimate question.
I'm super long today.
Yeah, that's what she said. And I'm 12 again. Well, anyway, so Nelson Ballard says, locker room gun etiquette when concealed carrying to the gym. What do you do? What's the etiquette?
What's the etiquette?
Yeah. Oh, I'll tell you what I do. When I go to the gym, well, we own a gym now, but when I went to the gym.
That's nice.
And yeah.
We have guns in our gym.
Yeah, and I had to worry about that. I went to the locker room. My gun went directly from my holster to my locker. And then usually what I would do is I would have I would have my sidearm in a bag, and I would take my bag with me wherever I was going up to the treadmill or whatever. It was a small bag so it could fit in a little cup holder or next to me. So I'd have the sidearm in the bag, but I would put my main gun in my locker with my holster and everything. And then when I was done working out, I would go back to my locker, take my shower. I would take the gun directly from my locker, put it in my holster. Don't flag anybody. Don't try to show your gun off and none of that stuff. Just put it directly from your holster to your locker, and then from your locker to your holster. And then go about your day.
And P.S., don't go to Planet Fitness because they're a bunch of homos.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, end of story. That's about it. That's about all I have to say about that. Well, it is Thursday, so that's the last public broadcast of the week, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us. We truly appreciate everybody who's out there. We appreciate all the folks who picked up the books recently and all that. We've got actually a lot more stuff for you, so perk up your ears and eyes. There's going to be more coming.
Do we have any of the candidates for the Student of the Gun Graduate Week?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. I got to confirm those.
We won't talk about that yet.
Yeah, we're going to do something really super special for grad program people coming up. Not that we don't always. The grad program people got a whole lot of cool stuff this last couple of weeks. And if you're a grad program member, we will talk to you tomorrow. And if you want to be one, well, you can do that. Just jump online, go to studentofthegun.com, click on the Professor Paul wearing a freaking grad cap button, and sign up, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. But until then, remember, you are a beginner once, but you should indeed be a student for life.